Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1460 of our daily content grind. Today, we're going to be looking at a little bit of a promise that Hasbro has made to us and where it may or may not have come up short. Now, to be fair, all of these are to be determined. At any moment, they could announce something that drastically changes this. But as of this recording, this is just a few times that they have done this. And the promise is, and this is something Hasbro has been saying for years now, is that they are going to complete sets. If they do one character from a set, they are going to finish said set. Well, that's not always happened. Unfortunately, they have either started sets of characters and then never carried forward with the inevitable ones that should have followed, and there are times where they have had a cast of characters and left one or two out for whatever reason, and we're just kind of wondering what happened there. So, as of this recording date, we're going to take a look at some of the ones that we are still waiting for, and that, of course, begins with the beautiful Botanica here. This one is the star of this entire genre of incomplete promises, right? The one character never designed to get a toy, so she's never gotten a toy, and we still have no sign or hope that we'll ever see one. Now, granted, the day has passed. There's no getting this out in a relevant fashion. There is hope that the new Quintus Prime can be a retool into Botanica at some point. The DNA for it is definitely there, but she's just the poster child for this, right? She's just the one that you look at when you go, this team is incomplete. There you go. It's always Botanica. But there's more recent ones. We're going to stick to as many recent ones as possible. This one is just, we have to discuss her in a topic like this because she is infinitely left out of her own franchise. We can talk about ones that they started, but never carried through with the rest of the team. For instance, Throttlebots. It seems like we just get one Throttlebot at a time, but never a full team, and certainly never during the same series. During Titan's Return, we did get Chase. We got a new one from him as Roadburn, but that was just a Bumblebee retool, and that's as far as they went with them. They didn't even make a Gold Bug. Well, here we have a Generations Gold Bug from a multi-pack, which really isn't even gold, by the way. It's just kind of a darkish yellow. But we never saw any Throttlebots beyond this, and here I am. Like, I had Wide Load as a kid. Like, I wouldn't mind having a modern version of Wide Load. Of course, that also might be the problem. Getting these into some sensible scale might be kind of ridiculous or kind of impossible. Because they all have to kind of work the same way as Throttlebots, otherwise they're not going to look right in robot mode. But, what do you do with a giant dump truck that works like that? I don't know. I admit it's tricky. I will admit it's tricky. But still, it's a whole cast of Autobots that has gone completely unused. And that's curious. They do enough to remind you that they existed. And that's about it. Another one that's a little bit more relevant to what we just talked about. You remember when they did a Tankor and then nothing else? So I don't mean like I need a whole cast of Viacons, but I do need a Jetstorm and a Thrust. Now, in a recent interview, Hasbro stated that they are aware that there is a demand for those Viacons, that they know that there's popularity there. It is just a matter of, fitting them in and figuring out how to properly do them. It sounds like if they're going to do one, they're going to do all of them. They're going to do them all properly. So, like, I need Tankor as a leader, minimum. I need Jetstorm as a Voyager. I need Thrust as a Deluxe, And I'm hoping that is the case. I'm hoping we get that. But Thrilling 30 comes out, a decade ago. They do one Tankor. The Tankor is actually pretty decent. And then that was it. No semblance or sign of any other Viacon to follow. Now, granted, Thrilling 30 is a different beast. We're going to touch on it again here in a minute. But the reality is pretty much anything in that line was viewed as, well, it's, yeah, we're just dancing around the franchise just to celebrate the anniversary. We're not trying to get a whole cast out, which is why we got only like a few Beast Wars All-Stars, that kind of thing. Still, it reminds you of the rest and makes you wonder where they went, right? Okay, modern, like brand new. Like, okay, this is fine, but this is a decade ago. How about something that came out in the last few years? Where's X-Brawn and Prowl from RID? Because we got Sideburn, and they did the weird thing of doing Shadow Striker first, and it's not the Shadow Striker that Sideburn was originally retooled into. Now, when it comes to that design, I can kind of see what they were going for. Sideburn has a lot more options as far as reuses. You can do the Super Sideburn colors, that's obvious. You can do the OTFCC sets, the original Shadow Striker and Roulette. You can do that. You can do a universe repaint. When it comes to his brothers, the answers are the repaint answers are like incredibly small by comparison. Yes, there's OTFCC, Sideways, or Sideswipe, and Sunstreaker. You could get away with that. But beyond that, Prowl doesn't have a whole lot outside of his super mode. It's still 4. You get 4 out of him. It's X-Brawn, I think, is the problem. X-Brawn is so unique. You know, you get him, his super mode, and that's it. So you gotta be certain that those are going to sell in order to make money off of that mold. So that might be the limitation here. And that's unfortunate because I really, really like X-Brawn. I like how different he is designed. I like how weird he looks. I feel like that could be a nice figure to have, you know? I figure that would be fun. No, we can't have it yet. So we wait. It's just weird that they would randomly do Sideburn, and they knew that was going to be the tool. Like Shadow Striker is a pre-tool of that character, and then they still haven't given the rest. Oh well, maybe someday. I'm crossing fingers. I am gonna go back and pick on Thrilling 30 a little bit more here, just a little bit more, because I'm a little bit salty on this one. So I get to include because it's a personal beef. Where are the other smaller Target Masters? Where are the other double Target Masters on the Autobot side? Because they've been doing a few of those. Like the Decepticons did a pretty good job of getting theirs out. You know, Sinister's out, Needle Nose is out, etc. But like we got like Scoop. We got Scoop during Thrilling 30 with both of his Target Masters. Where's the Quick Mix? I had Quick Mix as a kid. Where is Quick Mix? Like, we don't get to have one. Where's Landfill? Where is Landfill? Like, the Autobots don't get to have their double Target Masters, apparently, which is odd to me. Now, to be fair, this is again a case of the molds would have to get some kind of reusage out of them, and you're not going to get anything out of either of those toys. They were never repainted. The designs were never ported over to anybody else. The difficulty with them is the fact that they are construction vehicles, and construction vehicles are pretty much, commanded by the Constructicons at all times. You never, ever get to see a construction vehicle transformer anymore if it is not a Constructicon. It's just too ingrained in the brand at this point that if it's going to be a construction vehicle, it's going to be bright green. Your one exception is going to be Grapple. That's going to be it. Everything else off limit. No. Like, it's unfortunate. And you know what? Fine. Fine. If you're just going to make them into like weird random Constructicons, do it. You know, give me Buckethead and Gravedigger or whatever. You know, invite that lawsuit for the Gravedigger trademark. I would get a kick out of that. Leaves me hanging. One more for the pile of, they did one and then they didn't do the rest. I'm not talking about Hosehead, because that goes into the smaller headmasters that never got done for Titan's Return. That's a whole other beast. But you know what they do have? You know what we did get? We got a Minerva. We got one Headmaster Junior, which makes me wonder, where is Go Shooter and Cab? Now, I will now, admittedly, it's just because they had a female mold that it would kind of work for. It was a decent enough figure to do. And they like having Walmart or Walgreens exclusives. So any emergency vehicle they can kind of work in goes there. Medical ones especially. So I kind of get it. But it is again a case of like, you tempted me. You tempted me with one and then you don't follow up with the rest. And I'm just going to blame the same pitfall of, well, what else are you going to do with the mold? But, oh well. Oh well. Let's move into the bigger groups. So we have groups where like a large number of these characters have been done in one particular set, but a few are left out in the cold. So between Power of the Primes and the recent lines since then, we have gotten a lot of attempts at the Decepticon Pretenders, but Bugley and Finback are completely left out in the dust. Now, granted, there's a lot of Pretenders that have not been covered. Any of the, Pretender Elites, the Mega Pretenders, the Ultra Pretenders. I'm thinking Action Master Elites. Okay, slight hiccup in the brain there. Point being, you've got all these little Decepticon ones that ran the gambit of characters, left these two out. You have multiple attempts to do them at larger sizes. We got a few core class, we got one deluxe, Bludgeon's doing his own thing at any given point. But of all the ones they have done, like even Thunderwing had a Thrilling 30 toy, where like Bugley and Finback got left out completely. And I feel like Bugley you absolutely could have done. I feel like everyone probably would have been okay if Bugley ended up just a repaint or something of the Repugnus toy that came out. I would go with that. I would accept that. Maybe a retool a little bit just so the head's a little bit more correct. I would go with that. I think it's on par with that Skullgrin that came out. It's not a great toy, but hey, at the very least, it's in the same ballpark. So you got that at least. Okay. I know the ones that we're talking about here. I know what has to be brought up. I don't like it, but we have to. So they've done pretty much everybody from Revenge of the Fallen except for these two yokels. Now, I know Hasbro has said they are inevitable, but they are not currently in the works, meaning that, it is going to be minimum 2 years before we have to look at Skids and Mudflap on a toy shelf again. But the day will inevitably come where we do have to look at them. So, is there a way this would work? Is there a way where we would be okay with this? And the only thing I can think of, do you remember there was an official Machine Robo, Bike Robo that came out, and packaged in with that toy was a Psykill head. So you can make him an unofficial modern Psykill toy. The way they got away with that is by not advertising it on the box, on the packaging, in any of the press releases, nothing. At no point did they even mention this piece existed. It was just thrown into the box. So you can't even claim they're making money off of it because how? No one knows about it until they got it in hand. And I feel like that's the kind of thing you would have to do to get Skids and Mudflap on a toy shelf. You would have to release them as concept series pieces using the original heads that were far more normal looking, and then completely unadvertised as a bonus in the bag, there would be the original heads that you could pop on as an alternative. But at the very least, if you do it with concept figures, then you take them back to the beginning. You get rid of these racist caricatures that their faces strike, and that way that's what's on the box art. That's what presents itself in the packaging. You make it very clear. This is like the before they came out. And then, also there's this sneaky way of actually making them like the originals. We're just not going to tell you it's there. That kind of thing. I literally think that's the only way you are ever going to get away with it. Literally, and even that's going to invite some kind of backlash, just in the way of like doing something to make them okay, justifying them. I think that might even be a mistake in itself. But I could see the toys coming out if you did that trick. Okay, let's get into proper this a whole set, but they're missing this one character. So for the Decepticon side, no modern Octane. I mean, the Titan's Return isn't that old, but we have had Blitzwing, we have had Astro Train. We know from listings we're going to get them again because there's 86 versions of both that are currently listed in computers. Well, here we have the humble Octane, who still does not have a modern follow-up that is not a headmaster. I really do feel like it's because of the complexity of the design. This tanker truck has always presented Hasbro an engineering problem. It looks fine here, but then you get the jet mode with its super scrawny wings. The original one, you know, you had like a decent little like jumbo jet mode, but you had this truck with robot arms inexplicably stuck out of the cab. It is a difficult one to crack. I will give them that. Engineering wise, this one might be tricking them. Oh, but here's one we could do, we just don't. So Broadside comes with a completely different problem. In the cartoon, he's gigantic. He's like Skyfire sized. Or bigger. He is huge. Not quite Titan sized though. So like he would have to be like he would have to be Commander if you made him screen accurate. But then he doesn't mix in with the other triple changers. So what do you do? Do you make him mix in with his team like the original toy did? Or do you make him giant and make him cartoon accurate? Also, could you convince anyone to spend $90 or whatever the price will be by the time it comes out for Broadside of all characters, a character who did next to nothing his entire existence? I will say, if they did him as a commander, you could work in like a head swap for his like secondary head design, because he had two in the cartoon. You could do that. You could have his Carnage and C minor version, or you could do his final version. Either way. But yeah, like the presentation of this toy is the problem. What size do you actually put him out as? That's what trips you up with Broadside. Haven't figured that one out yet. Here's a shocking one. Here's one that surprised me. Didn't even occur to me until I did this research. You realize how long it's been since we had a Sunstorm? And I mean like a proper Sunstorm, you know, not like the guy from the orange guy from the Rainmakers. That's not Acid Storm. That ain't him. Or that's not, that is Acid Storm. It's not Sunstorm. We have not had a retail level, like mass retail Sunstorm since freaking Titanium. Continues to be eager repaint fodder for action figure lines, you know, things like Blockies, etc. But Sunstorm himself, in his proper like orange and white color scheme, we have not seen hide nor hair of that. It's weird to think that you could have Seekers, of all things, that are an incomplete set. But if you want all the big deal Seekers, you have to talk about Sunstorm. Like there was a period where he was just like the flavor of the day. I know he only exists in one comic book storyline, and then he's background fodder for a lot, but still, it's a named character. It is a big deal in some circles. It's just a glaring hole, you know, like we just had this huge run of Earthrise toys. The Earthrise Seeker mold got used to a disgusting degree. No Sunstorm. That's super weird to me. Let's talk about one that's ongoing. How about that? Now, when I put animated Bulkhead in here, I'm ignoring the one that came out in Legacy, because that is not animated Bulkhead. It's not even Prime Bulkhead. There's a Bulkhead in name and head sculpt only. No, what we need here is proper animated Bulkhead. And I say that because we've already gotten Prowl, Optimus, and Bumblebee as brand new animated figures. We know from listings that Ratchet is on the way. So what about Bulkhead? We have not seen any kind of indication the Bulkhead is coming out as well. I have to assume that he is. When it comes to the animated stuff, yeah, this is one where I absolutely know they are going to complete it, but it's a matter of when and how are we going to get such a big character out by the time they are ready for that. It's another size quandary. Here's another one. This one Hasbro might consider complete, I don't. I need a crosshairs. We just talked about this in the news roundup because they showed off that toy alongside the two new Targetmaster figures, and you could just tell how out of place he is now. You can tell how out of place the Siege Crosshairs figure is. It just doesn't work. It doesn't have his Targetmaster, it doesn't have the right head, doesn't have the right color layout, doesn't have the right vehicle. It's just wrong. It's just absolutely wrong. This is again me like getting offended because this is a childhood toy and I'm annoyed. But the point is, I don't consider that team complete. I consider that a broken set because they put in what is a stand-in, a placeholder, and I'm waiting for that to be given its proper replacement. It should be inevitable at this point, right? Because we've gotten the other two. We've gotten those fine. Where is my crosshairs? I need it. I love this toy and I love this design. I want to see a modern one that's good. I need to see a good one, please, Hasbro. Oh, but if we want to talk about my favorite designs. Oh, and one is like a glaring hole in the collection right now. I will never shut up about this. I will never shut up about this. This is everything that I am after right now as far as a collector. I love Beast Wars 2nd Galvatron as a design. I think it's considering it's mostly pink, I'm shocked at how just cool this thing looks. Like this me, I have no color bias, but I don't normally imagine my villains to be mostly pink. But it works. It kind of works for him. I love the dragon mode, love the tank mode, love how this toy works. It's my very first imported toy I ever got. And the fact that I cannot get a modern one really, really annoys me. We are getting Big Convoy. We have already gotten Lio Convoy. We've gotten 2 of the 3 versions of the original Beast Wars Optimus Primal and Megatron. We've gotten a Magnetar. This is it. This is all that's left of the Beast Wars leaders. Like, this is it. I need it. I need it. Triple change it, commander class, throw in a swappable head for the Unicron form. I don't care. I need this toy to be a reality. Please, someone, anyone. So, there's a lot. Like, I could keep going on broken teams and teams they've only touched on and kind of ignored everybody else, but, you know, we've only got so much time. This has already gone a little bit longer than I wanted anyway. So, let me know which one you want. What is your broken team that you're waiting to see completed? Leave it in the comment section below, and as always, I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.